Welcome to the beautiful, beautiful Brighton beach where I'm back with my fifth video of the YouTube channel. And in terms of settings, this one might not be topped so far. Look at this, beautiful scenes. Waves coming in, all beautiful. People going for a dip there. Now we've actually picked probably the worst spot on Brighton Beach to do this video, overlooking the pier that burnt down. The reason for that, I'm just trying to steady this. The reason for that is because everywhere else is absolutely packed, and I was getting anxiety of people looking at me thinking, "Who's that idiot with a selfie stick?" But we're here to talk about Liverpool. We're going to talk about last night's game at the Amex 3-2 defeat. We're going to talk a bit about Federico Chiesa, how I thought he did. But first, we're going to talk about transfers because that's what you guys want to know. And the main one on all of your lips is, of course, Mr. Florian Vertz. So what's the latest with Vertz? Well, I think the headline is, and then there were three, and then there were two, I suppose, in terms of options for Florian Wirtz this summer, or for his next club. Where does he go? Not Manchester City. So that leaves Liverpool, it leaves Bayern Munich, and it leaves staying at Bayer Leverkusen. And maybe Real Madrid, but we're not sure about that one. So we're not going to go too much into Real Madrid, but they're always lurking for players. Manchester City, as we know, pulled out of the race to sign Wirtz, should we say, yesterday. Or they seemed to brief to journalists that they were pulling out. The reason they gave was finances. Do I believe that? Well, in a way, yeah. But you also have to say, surely Man City have known that Florian Wirtz is going to cost a lot of money for many months. So why they've only discovered this now, I'm not sure. So I don't fully buy into that idea. But Florian Wirtz is going to be very expensive. But as I said in the last video, he is worth it, I think, from what I've seen of Florian Wirtz. And I can't say I watch him every week, so I don't know how good he actually is. But from what I've seen, he's well worth the money that's being banded around. Now, I don't know how the mic's holding up here with the waves, the sea breeze, and some annoying people shouting who are in the sea. Actually, no. Let's let them have a good time. There's also seagulls making a lot of noise as well. But back to Wirtz. Where do I think he will go? Well, I still think that Bayern are probably the favourites, but what I will say is Liverpool are pushing. They have presented their case to Wirtz, and I think that he's mulling it over. Do I think they'll win the race? I wouldn't say it seems likely, but what I would say is Liverpool are certainly there. They're in the conversation, and they will push. They're going to go head to head with Bayern. So basically, where the land lies now is Florian Wirtz has a big decision to make over his future. So I thought what we could do is sort of get into the pros and cons of each decision that he could make, sort of try and get into Florian Wirtz's mind. I don't know why I keep double naming him. I feel like he is quite a double namey player, a bit like, Solly March. You never call him just March. Florian Wirtz seems a bit, just rolls off the tongue nicely. But, let's go through his decision. So staying at Bayer Leverkusen, well, the pros to that is obvious. He gets another year at the club that's made him. He gets to become more of a legend at that club. And then the cons are obviously, is that going to restrict him in the future? What if he gets an injury and never gets his big move? What if he, he's got to weigh all that up. And then obviously there's the pros of going to Bayern is that he will be the poster boy of German football for the next 10 years if he's not already. He will almost be guaranteed to win trophies, whether that's Bundesligas, whether Vincent Kompany's men can mount a serious challenge for the Champions League next season. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be in that conversation. They've impressed me this season when I've watched them. I think Kompany's a better manager than he gets credit for. Obviously, you've got Harry Kane banging in the goals and some other nice young players coming through, and Wirtz could sort of spearhead that. But he would sully his reputation at Leverkusen. I really don't like the idea of Bayern Munich rather just buying all the best players in Germany. It doesn't sit well with me. So Leverkusen fans would not look at him nicely, I don't think, in the future. Maybe they'll wave him on his way. I don't know how they would feel, but if I was a Leverkusen fan, I'd think if he wanted to go to a Liverpool or a City. I know City are now out of the equation, but if he did, I would have sort of waved him on his way and said, "Off you go, mate. Thanks for the service. Good luck." And then Liverpool. Well, at Liverpool, he could be the poster boy of the next 10 years for Liverpool. You know, Mo Salah, 2 years left on his deal, probably the end of his Liverpool career after that. Wirtz could be the new talisman. We'll come on to, maybe in this video, maybe in another video, where Wirtz could play, but I do have a sneaky feeling where he could play. Obviously, I don't see too many cons with joining Liverpool, unless he doesn't want to push himself out of his comfort zone and move to the Premier League. But I just have a sneaky feeling with this one. The noises are positive, let's say that. Not that a deal will be done, just that there's no negative noise to suggest it won't be done. Maybe by the time I put this video out, there will be, but I don't know. But all I could say is Florian Wirtz likes the idea of Liverpool. Liverpool are going to push hard for him. The money's there, as I said in the last video. And I think this could be a brilliant, brilliant signing. The sort of signing that sends a statement to the league and the rest of Europe. We mean business. Where would he fit in? I don't know. He could play across the front three. He could play, maybe slot. Wouldn't mind him in like a sort of false nine sort of role, similar to how Bobby Firmino used to play for Liverpool. You know, we've seen all the troubles with Liverpool's number 9 this season. It's been well documented. Darwin Núñez has been poor, let's say. Diogo Jota has not been fit enough. Luis Diaz has been good, but is he a number 9? I'm not sure. And you just think with the flying fullbacks that Liverpool have got, they're getting the width out with that. Salah and whoever's on the left are sort of similar roles, but maybe a little bit more inverted. And then you've got Wirtz sort of dropping deep. You've got the midfield, Szoboszlai making those runs off, or McAllister arriving late into the box. I think that could be a really, really good system for Liverpool. And I think Wirtz makes a lot of sense no matter what the money is. I think, you know, if it is 125 million in, let's say, 8 seasons' time, if Wirtz has won, I don't know, 3, 4 Premier Leagues, 1, 2 Champions Leagues, an FA Cup or 2, and he's scored and played a big part in that, who will talk about 125 million? You know, you look at Kevin De Bruyne playing his last game for City tonight, or his last home game. And you look back at the headlines when he signed from the Bundesliga, however many years ago that was, 10 years. Oh, look how overpriced he is. He's going to be a big money flop. He leaves City with, what is it, 6, 7 Premier Leagues, 1 Champions League, 2 or 3 FA Cups, 3 or 4 Carabao Cups, Club World Cup. No one's talking about the price they paid for him, and I think the same can be said about Florian Wirtz. I think he can be one of the best players in the world in 5 years' time. But Bayern Munich do seem probably to be leading the race still, but Liverpool are going to push, and I think that's all we can say at this stage. They're in the conversation, and that is a huge positive. Liverpool will do all they can, and they will look back in August, whether they've got him or not, and just say, we had no regrets, we did all we can to get him. So should we talk a bit about the game last night? I thought it was, like, the result doesn't matter, but I thought it was one of the best matches that I've watched this season in terms of 2 teams going at it, 2 very good teams at that. I really like Brighton, really like watching them, have done for some years, whether that's under Roberto De Zerbi or now under Fabian Wirtz. I think they have had problems, but I think they will be good next season, or better next season, let's say. And it was a really good game to watch. It was the result obviously didn't matter for Liverpool. I think Brighton probably did deserve the win, actually. I was going to say maybe a draw would have been fair, but Brighton were good. How did Federico Chiesa get on? That is the big question. Obviously, his first start got about 65 minutes, I think, maybe an hour. I thought he started really brightly. He had some nice touches. He played that lovely ball into Conor Bradley, which could have made it 2-0 if Bradley's shot was a little bit better. He played some nice flicks, nice one-touch stuff. I think he did get bullied a little bit with long balls. I think Adam Webster and John-Paul Van Ecke really, really give him a tough time in terms of his hold-up play, but he isn't a striker at the end of the day. But Slot obviously on Friday laid down the gauntlet to Chiesa, said, you know, you need to go and prove to me why you can be at Liverpool now. Did he take that chance? I wouldn't say he took it with both hands, but I think there were promising signs. I don't think he played quite as bad as a couple of people I've seen on Twitter have suggested. I'd like to see him get another chance. Maybe it's a case of he gets pre-season, and if he's not looking sharp, let's say by mid-August, they can sell him late in the summer. It doesn't have to be. They don't have to make a decision now. Let's say. Um, Obviously, they only paid 10 million for him, so it's not like they need to cash in ASAP. But yeah, I thought he was okay. I thought he, yeah, as I say, had some good touches. Um, Overall, with Liverpool last night, there was some. I thought they played very well in the first half, or the first half an hour, should we say, and then they looked tired in the second half. But Alisson was the best player, kept him in it a little bit in the second half. Um, Harvey Elliott, it was nice to see him get his goal. It was maybe worrying to hear what he said at full time on Sky, where he basically hinted that he tried his best, but he hasn't. It just hasn't worked for him, has it, this season? So maybe he is off this summer. I think Brighton. I don't know why I'm putting behind me like the Amex is there. I think Brighton could be a nice destination for him. I know a couple of Bundesliga clubs are looking at him as well. Well, they were last time I checked anyway. So it'd be a shame to see Harvey leave because he's a very nice chap, very hard-working, good player. Is he quite Liverpool's level though? That is the problem. But he is obviously very young. He's still very young, so I don't think Liverpool are going to force him out the door. But if a good offer comes in, I think they would want about 40 million for him. If a good offer comes in, I think they might have to basically shake hands and say, "Sorry, Harvey, it's not quite worked. We wish you all the best." Um, but as I say, it would be a shame. The other news to come out last night, I suppose, was Alexis McAllister isn't going to play on Sunday. I thought it was a real shame that he didn't play last night, actually, because Brighton fans love him. He was here for, what was it, 2 or 3 seasons. Won the World Cup as a Brighton player, first ever Brighton player to win the to win the World Cup. So yeah, big shame that Alexis wasn't playing because he would have got a rousing ovation, and I think as well it would have acted as a way of saying, look, this is how you leave a football club, um, to a certain someone who's left a football club in the last few weeks, because he renewed his contract with that sort of gentleman's agreement to leave the next summer, and he got Brighton a fee. It wasn't 35 million. If I dig through these stones here, I could probably find 35 million. That's how cheap that is in this day and age, I think, for a player of his quality. But he got them a fee at the end of the day, and it obviously a massive profit regardless. So Brighton fans love him. In the tunnel, there's a picture of him. Outside the ground, there's a picture of him. He's a real legend in these parts, and I think it's a shame that he didn't play. But Arne Slot said that the reason he didn't play was because he's been playing like a typical Argentinian all season. He's been, relentless running, got that bulldog-like approach, hasn't he? And I think it was interesting, actually. I think in one of my articles a couple of weeks ago, I wrote a sort of pros and cons of each contender for the vice captaincy, which I do probably think will be Mo Salah now. But what the fifth contender was Alexis, and I wrote something like, maybe he is too nice. And someone that knows Alexis texted me genuinely within like 3 minutes of that article going up, and said something along the lines of, "That's just not true. He's got that dog in him. They weren't the exact words. He's got that typical Argentinian bullishness in him." But yeah, so he's basically probably ran his body into the ground a little bit, and I think it'll do everyone good for him to get an extended rest going into next season. It was probably good to get Virgil a rest as well. He was on the bench. He was sat a few rows in front of me, barking orders like he was the assistant manager or something. But yeah, it was a nice trip down to the south coast there. Probably not one that people will remember in a hurry, Liverpool fans, for the result, but it doesn't matter, and that is the luxury of winning the league early, alongside the fact that they can get all this business done early. Jeremie Frimpong has had his medical. Spoke to Cody Gakpo actually after the game and asked him about him. I can't remember the exact wording off the top of my head, but he said something along the lines of, he's a really nice guy. I know him well from the Dutch camp. He's a great player as well, so it would be nice to have him if he signs. Obviously, Cody had to say that. We know that is not an if, it's a when. One that is an if is Milos Kerkez, of course. I wrote in an article on Saturday, although it didn't actually go live till Sunday. So Sunday, that now Bournemouth are unlikely to get in Europe. I think things can really step up with that. I checked in with someone yesterday, and as far as I'm aware, no official bids or approaches have gone in just yet. But I would expect that to happen soon. We've known that Kerkez is a target for some time now. I think going back as far as maybe October 2023. I was doing a piece on Soboslai, and I spoke to a Hungarian expert, and he said to me, like, just keep an eye on this lad Milos Kerkez. And I didn't really think at the time that he meant in terms of signing for Liverpool, but looking back now, maybe he did. And then when Liverpool played Fulham in, what was it, this season, November, December, and Robertson had a bit of a bad game, I did a piece then looking at who potential targets could be for the left back to upgrade it. And I did some digging, and Kerkez's name came up more than anyone else, alongside some others like Jorel Hato, who I've mentioned before. Virgil van Dijk is a big fan of Jorel Hato at Ajax, but it does seem like Milos Kerkez will be the number one target. I do think the fee is a little bit steep, and I do think Liverpool may try and haggle that down. Whether Bournemouth play ball on that remains to be seen, but I think things are really stepping up now, and that is all because of the fact that Liverpool have won the Premier League early. Slot wants a big pre-season. He wants some players through the door early. So Frimpong's through the door, Mamardashvili's through the door, Kerkez maybe soon. And let's see on Florian Wirtz, let's see on other players as well, maybe a midfielder as well, or a centre-back. It's going to be a big summer, as I've said many times. But it's already underway. I'm going to do a Q&A on this channel tomorrow. So I'll tweet asking for your questions, and please let me know. I'll try and answer the most of them. I can't promise that it'll be anywhere as nice as this, but hopefully my responses will be as nice as this. So see you then.